It began like every other morning flight. Sun spilling over the tarmac, the faint smell of jet fuel mixing with coffee, and Elena Papadakis standing by the cabin door with her practiced smile. 23 years in the sky had taught her to read the smallest signs of unease. The way the captain avoided eye contact, the trembling hands of a new attendant fastening her scarf, the mechanical hum that somehow sounded wrong. As passengers filed in, Elena felt that familiar tightening in her chest, intuition whispering louder than reason. The plane rose into a cloudless blue, yet the light inside dimmed strangely. A child's voice asked why the air felt cold. Moments later, Elena's ears popped sharply. And then came the sound no one wants to hear at 32,000 feet. Silence. No intercom. No response from the cockpit. Just the low hiss of oxygen masks falling, and a single question echoing in her mind. What if no one is flying this plane? The intercom stays dead. Elena leans against the cockpit door, gasping into her mask, listening to her pulse echo in her ears. She knows the drills: decompression, hypoxia, pilot incapacitation. But drills never include silence this thick. She turns to see rows of still bodies, some conscious, some not, all bathed in the eerie amber of emergency lights. Katerina's voice breaks through static, crying for help from the rear galley. Elena's training kicks in, but her voice trembles as she tries to sound calm. Somewhere above, the engines hum in steady defiance, but inside, the human sound has vanished. Elena forces herself to move. The smell of ozone fills the air. Passengers slumped in unnatural positions, oxygen masks dangling uselessly. She checks pulses, touches shoulders, whispers names. No response. Her breathing grows shallow. At the far end of the aisle, Anton's mother is unconscious, his small hand gripping hers. The boy's eyes are open, fixed on Elena. For a moment, she almost forgets protocol and kneels beside him, telling him everything will be fine. But even as she speaks, she feels the lie settle like frost in her lung. In the cockpit, nothing moves. Andreas and Nikos remain frozen, faces slack under the oxygen masks. Elena's headset crackles with faint static, then a voice she cannot make out. Or perhaps imagines. She slams the intercom switch again. Nothing. Her heart pounds harder as she realizes they are still ascending. Somewhere deep within the aircraft's hum, a sound builds, like breathing, mechanical and endless. She closes her eyes and whispers, "Please, someone wake up." The plane steadies into silent cruising altitude. The hum becomes white noise, soft and surreal. Elena floats in that stillness, mind reeling. 23 years of flying, thousands of hours above clouds, every emergency survived, and yet this feels different. There is no chaos left to manage, no passengers screaming, just air that feels too thin, too cold. As she looks out the window, the sea below gleams like mercury. She whispers to no one. Someone has to be awake. And then, through the reflection of her own face, she sees the faint glimmer of another plane approaching from afar. The horizon stretches endlessly, but the sky feels smaller now. Elena grips the service cart, pushing it through still aisles littered with masks and fallen magazines. The passengers look asleep, serene, as if drifting in a shared dream, but she knows better. Every instinct tells her to keep moving, to stay conscious. Her lungs burn. Each breath feels thinner than the last. She calls again for the captain through the intercom, voice cracking into static. Nothing. From the window, she can still see the faint shadow of another aircraft following at a distance, like a guardian or a ghost. The hum of the engines sounds the same, yet something deep within her recognizes the truth. They are not flying anymore. They're only falling slowly, gracefully, unaware. Elena drags the interphone receiver close, pressing it against her lips as if proximity could force it to work. Flight 522 to Athens Control, do you copy? The silence hisses back like a living thing. Her heartbeat fills the space where words should be. She stumbles toward the forward galley and sees Katerina on the floor, mask loose, eyelids fluttering. Elena kneels beside her, adjusts the strap, taps her cheek. "Stay with me," she whispers. But Katerina's breathing slows. Elena's training wars with instinct. She can't save everyone. But if she stops moving, she'll be next. Somewhere deep within the aircraft, a muffled thud breaks the monotony. Elena freezes. Her eyes dart to the ceiling, to the floor, to the cockpit door ahead. Could it be a passenger? A malfunction? Her rational mind whispers explanations, but her gut insists something else is moving, something that shouldn't be. The sound repeats, metallic, hollow, deliberate. Her hands shake as she unlatches the cockpit interlock once more, praying to hear Andreas's voice. But the door doesn't budge. She realizes then that she's utterly alone, suspended in a ghost above the world. Elena opens the forward storage hatch, searching for the emergency oxygen supply. Her hands tremble as she pulls out the portable bottle, connecting it to her mask. The hiss of air fills her ears, deafening but alive. Proof that something still functions. As she steadies her breath, her eyes wander to the window. Below, the Aegean stretches endlessly, islands glinting like scattered stones. She tries to remember the checklist for a depressurization event, but her mind blurs the steps. A tear escapes before she notices. The air inside feels too dry to hold it. Somewhere beyond the thin metal walls, life continues, and she wonders if anyone even realizes they're gone. A faint vibration ripples through the plane, different from before. Elena stumbles toward the window, steadying herself on a seatback. Outside, 2 fighter jets glide into view, one aligning close enough that she can see the pilot's visor gleam in sunlight. For a moment, relief floods her body. Someone has found them. She waves frantically, pressing both palms to the glass. The fighter plane tilts its wing in response, a signal she can't interpret. Then it drifts closer, pilot's head tilting as if searching for life inside. Elena mouths words he can't hear. "We're alive." But when she looks back down the aisle, she realizes she might be the only one. Elena stands in the aisle, staring at the cockpit door that has defied every command, every knock, every desperate plea. Her headset dangles uselessly from her shoulder. Through the window, the fighter jet remains, a silent witness orbiting their frozen world. She tries to recall the emergency override code. Her fingers hover above the keypad, trembling. The cabin temperature drops noticeably. Her breath fogs faintly, a sign of thinning oxygen. She presses the sequence once, twice, nothing. Her training tells her to conserve air, but fear overrides logic. She pounds on the door again, voice raw. "Captain? Nikos, answer me." The echo dies quickly, swallowed by the pressurized silence. Determination replaces fear. Elena retrieves the metal coffee trolley, dragging it forward. Her movements are slow, deliberate, exhaustion setting in, but resolve stronger. She positions the cart against the cockpit door, braces herself, and slams it forward. The metallic clang reverberates through the cabin. Once, twice. The third strike bends the cart frame, leaving a shallow dent in the door. Her arms tremble. The sound feels too loud, too final. But she doesn't stop. For 23 years, she served calmly through turbulence, smoke, panic, but nothing prepared her for this silence that screams back. Her strength fades. She sinks to her knees, gasping against her oxygen mask, eyes blurred with tears and altitude haze. The cabin creaks faintly. Somewhere metal groans. The fighter jets outside maintain their vigil. Elena crawls toward the jump seat near the cockpit, securing herself instinctively, a habit that never leaves. She closes her eyes for just a second, hearing echoes of training sessions, laughter with crew, The calm voice of Captain Andreas explaining procedures. When she opens her eyes again, she swears she sees movement beyond the cockpit glass. Not a full motion, just a flicker of light where no light should be. Elena forces herself upright and peers through the narrow window on the cockpit door. Inside, both pilots sit perfectly still, faces pale, eyes closed. Their hands remain on the controls as though carved in stone. Oxygen masks hang loosely at their sides. A small light blinks on the autopilot panel, steady, patient, merciless. Her voice cracks into a whisper. Andreas, Nikos, please. But the only answer is the rhythmic blink of a system that doesn't need them anymore. The truth hits her in waves. The plane is flying itself. Her body begins to weaken. The air feels thinner, her thoughts drifting like fog, yet she keeps talking. To the cockpit, to herself, to anyone who might still hear. Passengers are stable. She whispers into the silent intercom. Cabin secure. Her voice trembles as she adds, requesting instructions. But no one answers. The fighter jet outside tilts its wings again. A signal she now understands. They are running out of time. She stands, one last surge of will, staring down the length of the aircraft she spent her life serving. 23 years of grace and composure reduced to this single truth. She's the last heartbeat on Flight 522. The cabin grows dim, light bleeding into a strange bluish dusk, though it's still midday outside. Elena feels time stretching, seconds turning heavy, elastic. Her limbs move slower, as though gravity has thickened. She touches a seat back for balance, her glove brushing against a passenger's cold hand. Her chest tightens, but she forces another breath through her mask. All around her, the hum of the engines drones like a lullaby. She stares down the aisle and realizes how peaceful everyone looks. It almost feels cruel. Her body wants to rest, to surrender to that same peace, but her mind clings to duty. If she's the last one awake, she must stay that way until the very end. The world outside has shifted. The sky no longer looks blue. It's a blinding white void, sunlight scattering across the wings in a sheet of glare. Elena blinks through tears, squinting to see the fighter jets still escorting them. Small and distant now. The autopilot hum remains constant, a mechanical heartbeat. Her mask hisses softly with each shallow inhale. She wants to believe someone down there knows. That someone is trying to help. But a darker thought creeps in. Maybe everyone already knows, and there's nothing left to do. Her thoughts drift to moments before takeoff. Katerina's nervous smile, Andreas's quiet greeting, the smell of jet fuel and coffee. The contrast now is unbearable. She kneels beside Katerina's body, placing a hand on her shoulder as though to wake her from a dream. "We did everything right," she whispers. Her own voice sounds distant, as if underwater. The sound of the engines vibrates through the floor, steady and cold. For the first time in her career, she wishes for turbulence, any sign that something still listens, something still moves by human will. But the plane remains painfully perfect. It's so perfect. A subtle alarm blinks across the overhead display. Fuel. The light flashes, patient and indifferent. Elena looks up, disoriented, then turns toward the window. Below, the Aegean Sea shimmers like liquid glass, endless and unreachable. Her breathing deepens, chest rising in slow rhythm. She unclips her oxygen mask for a moment, letting the raw air fill her lungs. It burns. She coughs, but somehow smiles through it. Her body is losing the fight, but there's grace in knowing it. She straightens her uniform, smooths her hair, and whispers to no one. Prepare for landing. The plane begins a gentle descent. The pitch changes almost imperceptibly, but Elena feels it in her bones. That slow tilt downward. That shift in weight. The fighter jets stay close, their shadows passing over the fuselage like fleeting ghosts. She secures the last dangling oxygen mask, her movements tender, almost maternal. Then she kneels beside a young passenger, Anton. His eyes are closed now, lips slightly parted. She adjusts his seat belt, brushing hair from his forehead. The gesture is small, but it's everything she has left to give. Outside, the clouds open, revealing mountains below. "Hold on," she whispers, voice trembling. "We're almost home." The cabin tilts ever so slightly as gravity reclaims its hold. Elena feels the descent before she sees it, a slow, solemn fall masked by the steadiness of autopilot. Her body moves on instinct now, guided by years of ritual. She checks the cabin one last time. Her movements slow, graceful, even in exhaustion. Every sound feels distant. The rustle of her uniform, the faint creak of the fuselage. She looks at the passengers and sees peace, a collective stillness that feels sacred. For a fleeting moment, she believes they might land softly somewhere in the Aegean light. Then a vibration hums through the floor, gentle, warning, final. Outside, the fighter jet draws closer. The pilot leans forward, his gloved hands steady on the controls. He can see her now, a single figure moving inside the silent airliner. He radios ground control, voice strained. "There's movement in the cabin." The reply crackles through static. "No." Response from cockpit. "Maintain position." He watches her raise a hand to the window, the gesture trembling but unmistakably human. For a brief second, he feels the weight of connection. Two lives divided by glass and sky. Elena presses her palm to the window, her breath fogging the glass. The fighter jet's sleek body glides parallel, the pilot's face barely visible beneath the tinted canopy. She doesn't know what he sees, but she imagines him trying to help, shouting commands, waving signals. She mouths the words again. "We're alive." Her voice doesn't carry, is only a shape against silence. Her hand trembles. Her vision begins to blur, edges softening. The air feels like thin glass, hard to breathe, harder to hold. She knows she is fading, yet she refuses to sit down. In the fighter jet, the pilot blinks hard as his eyes sting from sunlight. She's still up, he whispers to himself, voice trembling through the radio. Ground control replies faintly. "We have confirmation of descent. Estimated impact zone northeast of Athens." He tightens his grip on the stick, helpless, watching the larger plane dip lower. Through his visor, he sees her one last time, the woman standing alone, framed by light, like a guardian refusing to fall. He salutes her through the glass, a gesture she'll never see. The airliner banks slightly to the left, engines still humming like a tired heartbeat. Inside, Elena exhales once, long and steady, as if letting go of years of duty in a single breath. Her hand slides from the glass. She turns back toward the cabin, gaze sweeping over the rows she's tended for decades. The hum deepens, altitude dropping. The mountains below grow sharper. In her final moment of clarity, she smooths her uniform and whispers, "Thank you for flying." Then the light swells, pure and blinding, swallowing everything in silence. Altitude slips away like the fading of a heartbeat. The descent is gentle at first, a mechanical surrender rather than a fall. Elena drifts between consciousness and instinct, body heavy, thoughts feather light. Her training echoes faintly in memory. Brace positions, evacuation orders, safety briefings she once recited without fear. None of it matters now. She feels the plane tilting forward, the engines deepening their tone. Outside, sunlight glints off the sea as if beckoning them home. Somewhere far below, a coastal village will soon hear the last whisper of flight. 522. The fighter jets maintain formation, flying alongside the helpless giant. The pilot inside whispers coordinates, eyes locked on the descending airliner. From his perspective, the plane almost looks peaceful. Engines still running, flaps extended in silent obedience. He knows what the world will see on the radar. Altitude dropping, speed constant, direction unchanging. But to him, it feels like watching a sleeping creature, unaware of its own ending. His voice cracks through the radio. She's still upright. She's still there. Inside the cabin, Elena's eyes open halfway, hazy, but aware. The sound has changed. The hum replaced by the whisper of wind brushing against metal. She looks toward the window and sees the coastline emerging through the haze, olive fields and scattered houses growing larger. She reaches for her seatbelt and fastens it with trembling hands. Her motion is deliberate, ceremonial, as if fulfilling her final duty. Her lips move silently. Brace position. But the passengers are beyond hearing now. She leans back, eyes open, facing the light. The descent steepens. Air rushes louder around the fuselage. In the fighter jet, the pilot's breathing quickens. He radios one final call. No answer. He can see through the airliner's front window now. Both pilots remain motionless, instruments flickering. But just behind them, a glimpse. A woman still upright, framed in light. He blinks hard. Not sure if it's real or reflection. His voice trembles. She's still standing. The radio crackles with static. Below them, the landscape opens. Mountains, sun, and stillness waiting to receive them. The plane tilts toward the hills beyond Athens, engines still humming. Loyal to the end. Inside, Elena's eyes are calm now. Her breathing shallow, but steady. She looks one last time toward Anton's seat, toward the passengers who will never wake. Her lips form a soft smile, an act of grace defying fear. She closes her eyes as the sunlight bursts through the cabin. The impact never comes in her mind. Only light, infinite and forgiving. To those watching from the sky, Flight 522 vanishes into the horizon in a bloom of gold and silence. Morning light filters over the hills outside Athens, calm and indifferent. Smoke still rises from the valley where Flight 522 came to rest, the wreckage scattered like metallic petals across the olive field. Rescue workers move through silence, broken only by radios and the rustle of wind. One of them stops, lifting a flight log half buried in the dirt. Alina's handwriting still visible, ink smudged, but legible. Cabin secure, it reads, no panic, no fear, just duty until the end. Somewhere above, contrails fade in the sky, remnants of the fighter jets that tried to warn her. In an operations room, investigators huddle over voice recorders. The playback crackles, oxygen alarms, static, the faint hum of engines. Then, a voice. Calm, steady, maternal. Passengers are stable. Cabin secure. Elena's tone remains professional, almost serene. The room falls silent. One investigator removes his headset slowly, eyes glistening. She stayed conscious longer than anyone, he murmurs. They all know what that means. She faced it awake. She didn't abandon her post. Outside the investigation facility, memorial flowers line the perimeter fence. Among them, a small photo of Alina in uniform smiles from behind glass, her eyes bright, confident. Frozen before the silence took her. Reporters speak in hushed tones. Families hold hands. Strangers leave candles. Her colleagues from the airline stand apart, heads bowed. To them, she was more than a flight attendant. She was the one who made every journey feel safe, who smiled even when the sky was rough. Now, her name carries a weight that belongs only to those who never stopped trying. Weeks later, the final report is read aloud. A loss of cabin pressure, unconscious pilots, an autopilot that held steady until the fuel ran dry. Simple words to describe a human catastrophe. But one detail stands apart. A timestamp noting the last human sound aboard Flight 522. A faint female voice whispering through static. "Brace!" Investigators confirm it. "Came from the intercom. Seconds before silence. That single word rewrites everything." It wasn't a malfunction. It was faith, duty, and love, carried to the end. The camera drifts above the Aegean, tracing the path of Flight 522. The sea below glimmers like glass, endless and quiet. A voice plays softly over the horizon. Elena's final log entry, recovered from her crew tablet. Every flight ends where it's meant to. Sometimes home is the sky itself. Her words linger, carried by wind and waves, dissolving into eternity. In the reflection of the clouds, her smile flickers for a moment. Not of fear, but of peace. The silence she feared became her sky,